All right. All right. Once again, Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
And those of us that are in the room on this Shabbat, we know that we want to welcome those that are live streaming with us. So come on, y'all, let's say Shabbat Shalom so they can hear you.
Shabbat Shalom.
Yep, Shabbat Shalom.
Hallelujah.
Yah has been good. Ephraim in the back. Hallelujah. Yah has been good to us and allowed us another Shabbat to be able to come together. And really, up until now, we have had a power-packed day. This has been fantastic. The lessons this morning, the word for today, and the reviews of the lessons, everything has just been excellent. And the children and the presentation that they did and the artwork that Jasmine is doing for the kingdom. Come on, y'all put your hands together. This is just marvelous. It's fantastic. And I'm grateful that Yah is using the ark to not only help to educate our people and wake up our people, but in the room, but using the ark to affect the Hebrew awakening, the awakening of the remnant worldwide. Today, before we get to the message, I want to make sure I get some of these announcements out because we got some things coming that I've got to let the worldwide assembly know concerning some things as program changes. All right, so number one, next week we will be starting off at 11 o'clock with the message. So we will be starting not with the Bible study, but with the message. So next week it'll be flipped over. Instead of it being on the Bible studies first and then the message, we'll have the message first. So at 11 o'clock, we'll be getting together with that Shema Israel, and we'll work through how exactly we're going to go through it, but I will be presenting first. So next Shabbat, at 11 o'clock, the message will begin, and then Bible study will follow. So all of the Bible study classes, word for the day, and everything else will still be. It's just flipping the Bible study and the message. So those of you who normally like slide out in the morning or come late, if you come in just for the message and you come an hour late, I'm going to be gone. No, I'll be done. So, all right, next, I want to make sure that I let everyone know, not only in this room, but those who are part of the Ark worldwide, how much your support means to the Ark. Sometimes as a leader, a teacher, moray, however you want to call it, we get so caught up in doing the work that we forget to just take a moment to just say thank you to the people who are supporting the work. It's, those that are supporting monetarily, those are supporting with gifts of various kinds, and those that are supporting just by praying. We also have people who support the work of the Awakening Remnant by hosting Shabbat classes or Shabbat meetings in their homes, and they watch these videos. Whatever you're doing to help the kingdom work, we say thank you. Hebrew is Todah, and Todah Rabbah means thank you, be enlarged or greatened, or we would say thank you very much. So everybody from the Ark to everybody who's watching, come on y'all, let's say Todah Rabbah. Yep, every gift, whether large or small, we really, really appreciate it, and that's easy to do. All you do is go to the awakeningremnant.com and just hit the donate button, and you can share. Also, I'll be in New Jersey. So everybody's been talking about, man, you coming back to the East Coast. Yeah. I said I wasn't coming until the summertime, but a very important event is going on there. There is a congregation of people who have decided to become a congregation, and they would like the blessings of the Ark. And they would like for me to come and to talk to them and to encourage them about organizing into a local fellowship and to also bring a message. And I think that's exciting. And I think it's very important that I be there to do that. And I know that you all feel the exact same way. So those of you on the East Coast, if you want to hang out with the Maury, I'm going to be there for a couple of days. I think I'm coming in on a Friday, and I'm not leaving until Sunday night. And we have 2 services or 2 sessions that are set up. We will be coming forward with another video with the particulars. But right now, the dates will be, it'll be 2 days, March 3rd and March 4th. So March 3rd, 2018, March 4th, I'll be there that Shabbat, and then that Sunday, and then bringing messages over there. And we're going to be praying for 2 of the brothers who are going to be leading that fellowship, Brother Neil and Brother Nelson. So I think this is going to be fantastic. Hallelujah. Hallelujah. All right. Got to get this out while I'm thinking about it so I can get into the message. Don't forget, Passover is March 30th, Friday, through April the 7th, which is a Shabbat. And those that are coming to the Ark, hallelujah, we look forward to seeing you. If you have not made your hotel arrangements, you can go online, and we give you the suggested hotels that are by each other so that everybody who comes will be in the same location. We do have group rates with the hotel, but that's not something that I am doing. That's something that the hotels are doing. So we will put up another video explaining exactly how to get the group rate and all that kind of stuff. But that's the hotel. What we did was find the location so that you all who are coming from all over the place and staying in Fresno can all be staying in the hotels where everybody else is. Because I think that's going to promote fellowship and friendship and all kind of stuff. So I'm looking forward to that. All right. And like I said before, a video is on the way with that information. So just kind of look forward to it. Thank you all for allowing me to do that. And now we're going to take out some time and have a word of prayer. And we're going to pray about how we as individuals can be supportive of the work of the Ark. Every week we bring our gifts to the altar. We enter his gate with thanksgiving and into his court with praise. So would you bow, please? Abba Yah, according to the Torah, we are to be givers and supporters of the work of the kingdom. We know that giving didn't start after Exodus from African Egypt, but the pattern for giving began when we watched the patriarchs and our forefathers, like Abraham, how he responded when he came to Melchizedek, or Jacob when he met you at Bethel. I pray that the spirit of Abraham and the life of Abraham that is still in us as his descendants, I pray it'll be evident in how we give and support and live Torah. Bless us now as we support the work with what you have blessed us to support it with. We give all praise, honor, and glory to our King. Hallelujah. Hallelujah. Amen. Let's get, why don't we get a drum? Let's get some drums during the, we won't even put Yazi to work on the wheels of steel. We'll just let our brothers and sisters that's on them drums, let them do it. All right, so we're going to have some drum music, and you all can give your gifts. If those that are watching online, this is a time you can go easily and make a donation. Just type in Awakening Remnant, and that we were all giving together. Hallelujah. And then I'll be right back with the message. Man, y'all got to give the drummer some. You guys did a good job. Thank you, thank you, thank you. All right, once again, Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
I am excited about the message the Most High has put on my heart to share with you today as we continue our focus on the King. Y'all say that, say focus.
Focus.
On the King.
On the King.
As I've been saying every week since the Most High been putting this on my heart, I've been saying the same thing, which is one of the problems in Zion among the awakening is that unfortunately people are moving their focus off of the King, who is Yeshua, onto humans and human personalities. Which is tragic. Because even Paul, who most people want to always say, when you mention anything about the scriptures in the law, but Paul said, well, what did Paul say in such and such verse? But didn't Paul say, and I read, see, you can't pull that on me. One, I've read Paul's writings and compared them with Torah. He's not contradicting. But number two, Paul himself said, did I die for you? Paul recognized he ain't the Messiah. He's not the king. He's a servant of the king. So even when man tried to move their attention from Yahoshua to Paul stopped them in their tracks. Like, I don't know where y'all got that from. Talking about I'm of Apollos, and I'm of Kepha, and I'm of Paul, and I'm of, and then he said, hey, I didn't die for you. Only follow any person as they follow the Hamashiach. Y'all got that? And so therefore, the Most High told me it's very important in these last days that we emphasize or put our focus back on our King. Once we focus on the King, then everything else will become crystal clear. Amen. Let us look in the book of Netanyahu again, which is known as Matthew in the English Bibles. Chapter 4, incredible passage. Netanyahu, chapter 4, and beginning at verse 23. Tremendous passage. Netanyahu chapter 4, verse 23. Abba Yah, we thank you for this opportunity to share your word. Cleanse our heart and mind. Make us a vessel. Use us as a vessel to be a blessing to your people. Hallelujah. Hallelujah. This is what it says. And Yeshua, or Yahoshua, went about, what's that word say? All Galilee. And what did he do? Teaching. He was teaching where?
In their synagogues.
Does anybody know what day they would meet in the synagogue?
Shabbat.
He was teaching in the synagogue. Watch this. And, come on.
Preaching.
The
Gospel.
Of what?
The kingdom.
And he was preaching. I read it. It's right here. He was teaching in their synagogues. And watch this. and preaching the gospel. I want y'all to underline that. He was preaching the gospel, not a gospel. The gospel, which suggests Zion. Because this is the beginning of his ministry, that he's preaching something that has already been preached before.
Right. Hallelujah.
Did you catch that, Zion? Please don't make me labor too hard. Did you catch that, Zion? And healing. Come on. Wait, no. Just some manners. No, like headaches and sniffles, but he don't deal with them heavy things, like, you know. No, it says all. I'm reading it. Manner of sickness and all manner of disease among who? The people. And his, come on, and his fame went throughout all of where? Syria. So we're talking about a huge region, Syria. And they brought unto him, come on, all people. They brought to who? Him. They brought it unto who? To him. They brought to him. Him. He had boys with him, you know. At this time, he's got at least 4 disciples. He's got Andrew and Kepha. He has James and John. We read it. So now they're walking together, the 5 of them, doing the work of the ministry, but nobody is bringing the sick to Kepha. I wish y'all was listening to me. Nobody is bringing the sick to see Andrew. Nobody is bringing the sick to see James nor John. Because Peter, James, John, Andrew, none of them is the king.
That's right. Come on.
Right.
Hallelujah.
I want you to let that sink in. They walked with him, but they weren't equal to him. Oh, they was close. As far as companion is concerned, he called them himself, y'all my friends. So that's not an issue, but folk knew the difference is what I'm trying to make y'all see today. Today, it seems like nobody knows the difference between the followers of the Messiah and the Messiah himself. So we have people who are more loyal and trust the quote-unquote followers of him than they do him himself. And it's tragic. And you keep getting let down, and you keep getting hurt, and you keep trying to figure out why things ain't working. Just because a guy got a ring on every finger and sit on a high seat don't mean he can do nothing for you. He put on his pants one leg at a time. And at best, he's your brother in this walk. He's not your master. He's not your king. He's not your Lord. Doesn't matter how they dress up in garb and how they want to dress up, you know, like ancient Hebrew Israelites, and which I don't know where that came from, but okay, I ain't mad at nobody. But I know one thing, just because you create a self-made title don't make you the king. What Israel needs today is to be brought to the king.
Hallelujah. Come on, preach.
Oh, man, I ain't finished the verse. And they brought unto him, come on, all all sick people. This is verse 24. That were taken with, come on. That means all kinds of different diseases. And what else? And what else? Uh-huh. And? And then what happened? Y'all see it, Zion? You see your king? Did you hear at any time in that passage it says, but this one case was just too deep for him. He was like, man, we're gonna have to do something about this one. It was put in almost like a footnote how easy it was for him to heal everybody. Didn't matter if it was a sniffle, or didn't matter if there was a lunatic. It didn't matter if they were completely demon possessed. It didn't matter. He just healed them all, according to the Bible. And there followed him, come on, great, come on, multitudes of people from Galilee. Where else? Where else? Where else? Come on, and? Oh. So his fame went out. He taught. He preached. And he healed. He's fulfilling the prophecy concerning HaMashiach, the anointed one to come. I want to speak, really, I just want to really hang around this idea or this insight, I would say, or this truth. I want to hang around this idea of the gospel of the kingdom. Y'all say that with me. Say the gospel. The gospel of the kingdom. Of the kingdom. Very, very interesting passage that after he calls these 4 disciples, immediately after that, we are told by Netanyahu that Yahoshua went all over Galilee. And we're told what he did. He taught, and he preached, and he healed. So the question we should ask is, what did he teach? What was he preaching? And how was he healing? Or what did he heal to keep it consistent? And when I read the text, I said, oh, wow, this is interesting. It says that he taught in their synagogue. Of course, that's what would be considered the local congregations that met every Shabbat. So he would go from one to the other, and he would teach. And I'm just going to cut to the chase on this. What do you think was being taught in the synagogue? Come on, talk about it. Torah. Teaching Torah. He didn't go in those synagogues with a new doctrine, with a new lesson. He went into the synagogues and taught the same Torah. But watch this. But his teaching on the Torah was with perfect understanding.
Hallelujah.
Now let me say something. I've been studying the Bible a long time.
Come on, man.
And I appreciate the Most High for letting me teach. But if our king walk in the door, I'm dropping this mic now. If the king walk in, I don't care who's up. Y'all see, you think you're going to,
No.
even if you've been scheduled for 2 weeks, King walk in. Come on, Lai. What about you, Lai? You going to stand up here and teach if the King's in the room?
Just warming up the mic for you, boss.
Y'all catching my... Is it because we've been up here not doing a good job? I think we're doing the best we can, but none of us are so arrogant to think that we could interpret this book like our King can.
Hallelujah.
We would sit down. We probably shut up unless the shout come. We'd be hollering because he'd be like, so this is what you guys were saying about this? The truth of this, we'd be like, woo! Never a man talk like him. And then we'd be trying to make him the more of our congregation. He'd be, no, I got to go. There's other places I got to go teach. Catch that. If he was teaching contrary to Torah, they would have put him out and stoned him.
That's right. Great party.
Because nobody has a right to come into an assembly of Hebrews and bring us any other message than the message that's already been delivered.
Hallelujah.
Second thing I saw here that he taught in their synagogues. Oh, by the way, the word Torah has to do with teaching. It's the casting forth of truth. So that was Torah. The second thing we see here is he preached. And the question is, what was his subject? His subject was the gospel of the kingdom. Now, how many of you all heard the word gospel? Raise your hand. How many of you all believe that the word gospel is a New Testament word? Oh, see, y'all already been taught this. Okay, what do you think the definition of gospel is?
Good news.
Right, it's a default. There's a default in our brain that tells us that the word gospel means good news. And that's because the Greek interpretation of the word gospel, when you look it up, it'll say bringing good news or bringing good tidings. So the idea of the gospel in Greek, euangelo, literally means to bring good tidings. But beshorah, which is the Hebrew word, means at its root to bring tidings. Now watch this. It can be good or bad. It's still tidings. It's the idea of bringing a message with the, most of the time, with the intent of it being good. But whether or not it's good depends, listen to me, on what side of the message you're on. I said something that should have went all over the world just then. Boom, that fast. The message is only good if you're on the right side of the message. But if you're on the wrong side of the message, the gospel is the last thing you want to hear. What gospel? The message of the kingdom. Because the message of the kingdom suggests a king. And if you think you the king, and the king brings a message to you about humbling yourself before him or you die, those who don't want to humble themselves, that message is not good news. That message right there will make you mad. The gospel of the kingdom, Zion, is not a new message. As a matter of fact, it was so common amongst Hebrews that nowhere in the quote-unquote New Testament is the gospel even defined. It is taken for granted that everybody knows what the gospel of the kingdom is. Unfortunately, because we try to interpret the Bible from the New Testament back to the Old, or we try to interpret the Bible from the eyes of so-called Christians, and by the way, I told you the Bible don't know Christianity. There's no such thing of Christianity in the Bible. That came 300 years after the Bible was completed, that we got this weird thing where we blended paganism and the Talmud and some other stuff into a religion. No, the Bible only knows one thing. The Bible knows the gospel of the kingdom. Or may I say this? The Bible knows the tidings that comes from our king to his subjects. Stay with me, Zion. Watch this. The Messiah, and we'll get to that when we get into his teachings in the next chapter. The Messiah did not show up preaching Christianity. He didn't show up here and start preaching Islam. When he got here, he wasn't like, okay, I'm going to promote Buddhism. No, when he got here, his message was consistent with every other message concerning the gospel. The word bet, shin, wa, resh, of course, hey, the tidings, also is very close to a Hebrew word that means flesh, F-L-E-S-H. So you have tidings, and then you have flesh. So in the Hebrew mind, the tidings, if they were good tidings, would be to hopefully the result of the good tidings, the end would be a celebration or a sacrifice. You got it? So the message was not a message to just be heard. This message was a message to be responded to. And the way you knew whether or not the message was positively received is how the person receiving the message acted. Were they happy? Or were they mad? I'm giving an example. Do you remember the Messiah tells a story of a man, he had two sons, and one of his sons, started feeling himself and been like, man, I'm getting out of here. He went to his dad and said, I want my inheritance now. I ain't finna wait till you die. And the dad gave it to him and he wouldn't spend it all. Y'all remember that story? And when he had wasted it all, he went out into a far country and wasted all living and basically wound up in a hog pen. But then, the Bible says, when he was just about to eat the food that the hogs were eating, he came to himself. He said, man, my daddy got servants doing better than me. So I'm going to go home. When he got home, you will hear a message from the father concerning his son. He sees his son, he hugs his son, he kisses his son, he put on shoes, he put a ring on his finger, he put a robe on his back, and then he sends a message of tidings to the house. He says to them, kill the fatted calf. Are y'all with me, Zion?
Hallelujah.
So the message of my son returning home should be the cause of celebration. But there was another son. And the Bible said he wouldn't go in. Same message, same reality, two different reactions. Zion. When this word is used in the Old Testament, the very first time it's really used in this particular context that I'm talking about is when King David got the word in the book of Samuel, got the word that Saul was dead. So the guy carrying the message to the king, it's not funny, but the guy carrying the message to the king thought that the words Saul is dead was going to make David rejoice and kill a fatted calf. But really what happened was, because the guy had a bad attitude, he died. Did y'all catch that? The fact that you thought the king was going to rejoice means that you really didn't know David. So the message could have went either way. It's good news, I guess, the fact that the enemy of the king is gone, but the bad news is the king of Israel is dead. The other one, believe it or not, had to do with David's son Absalom. The same exact word is used to tell David that his son Absalom was dead. It said that they brought him word or brought him tidings. Again, totally missing the heart of King David. When Absalom rebelled against David, and finally it got to the point where there was no other way that David could save the kingdom unless they entered into battle against Absalom, his son, watch this, it's a true story. He said, go to battle, but don't kill my son. Right. Yeah, go to battle, but capture him. Don't kill him. So they go to battle. It was a fierce battle. But Absalom had these long dreads, these dreadlocks. And he was riding, and his dreads was bouncing in the wind and on the beast. And he went up under a tree, and his hair got caught. And there he is swinging by his head and by his locks. Now, the truth is, they could have obeyed the king's voice and captured him alive, because he was literally handed to them alive. Do y'all get what I'm saying? Now, I just want you to see this word gospel, and then I'm going to bring it to the kingdom in a minute. But the word gospel is not good news. That's my whole point. It's just news. It's just a message. So the message came to David, but the people bringing the message was like happy. And David was like, wait, hold on. My son is dead. And the Bible literally does this. Matter of fact, every time I read this story, it gets me. Our King David, he cries like a baby. Absalom, oh Absalom. Absalom, Absalom. And people are trying to figure out, man, he was against your kingdom. And he's like, but he is my son. And I told you, Hebrews, not to kill him. They brought a message they thought was good news. My point is, it depends on what side of the news you're on. The New Testament is trying to paint an unrealistic picture of the message of the kingdom. that the message is just good news. Oh, it's good news.
Hallelujah.
It depends on what side of the news you on. For people who don't want to give up the right to themselves and submit to the king, it's bad news. For people who say, man, I ain't gonna stop eating pigs. King said, don't eat no pigs. Oh, so now you got a problem with the gospel. For folk who can't give up, what's coming up next? Valentine's Day. And the king says, no, they don't participate in any of that pagan stuff. No, that's off limits for our people. Now you have a problem, watch that, with the message of the king. See, you don't have a problem with the concept of him bringing you a word of good news. What people got a problem with is hearing the king make a statement whereby you now have to conform your life to it. So it's no longer good news. You mad. Who do you think he is? Tell me what I can and can't eat. Who do you think he is? Tell me what day I can worship and what day I can't. Who do you think he is? Trying to, here we go, run my life. The message or the tidings of the kingdom is that the king runs your life. So much so that if you want to be with the king, you have to be willing to give him your life even before you take the first step.
Hallelujah.
I ain't making that up. If any man come after me, he first got to deny himself. Then he got to pick up his stake, which is a killing stake, and follow me. So the gospel doesn't change. Now, I'm going to bring this out, or the gospel is just the idea of a message, but I want to show you something. But the kingdom's message is consistent. Can I show you that real quick? In Genesis chapter 3, Grandpa Adam and Grandmama Yeshua have completely tripped out.
Uh-oh. What happened?
Yeshua was hanging out around the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. And the fork-tongued consultant showed up putting doubt in the mind of Grandmama about Yah's law. Has he said, has God said? It's right here in the Bible, chapter 3, verse 1. Now the serpent was more subtle than any beast of the field which Yahuwah had made. And he said unto the woman, yeah, y'all didn't know a Hebrew line? Y'all about to watch this. Whenever he starts off his statement or his challenge with, yeah, what? You ain't said nothing. Yeah, has Yah said, you can't eat of every tree of the garden? And you know what she said. We may eat of the fruit of the trees of the garden, but of the, you know the story. Now watch this. She knew the law, but then when the serpent told her that Yah was holding back information that would make her like Yah, she was like, well, I don't want to be no second-class citizen. There's no wife. Shoot, I'm finna leapfrog Adam for sure. And I'm going to sit right next to him. Didn't the devil say you will be as Elohim? I ain't got to make nothing up. It's in your Bible. So when you read the text and you get down to verse 8, or it says in verse 7, the eyes of them were both open. So fig leaves, y'all know that story. They heard the voice in the cool of the day. They knew that it was death for them. That's why they ran and hid. They wasn't hiding because they were playing hide and go seek. They understood that the violation of Yah's law brings forth the death penalty. But before the king sentences them, he gives them a hearing. So y'all come to court. First of all, where was you? I heard your voice. And I was afraid. And we hid. And we saw fig leaves together. Because we was naked. Now the king, he ain't moving. He ain't bothered. The king is like, who told you you was naked? Did you eat? Did you disobey me?
Come on.
People keep saying, will Yah send you to hell over food? Well, will Yah? I mean, come on now, really? Pigs and shrimp, is that really that important? It ain't the pig, and it's not the shrimp. It's the disobedience to the king.
That's right. Yeah, man. That's right.
If he says don't do it, you don't do it. Oh, wait a minute, watch the text. Watch the text. They scared. And he said, this is Adam. Yeah, me and you was cool. We was cool and everything. I don't even know why you gave me her in the first place. I mean, I was chilling with you and I never ate from the tree, but you gave me her. He was like, ooh, you got, woo. So really what you doing is blaming me. Y'all not in the room with me, but that's fine. I'm gonna get this. I'm trying to show you something. Watch this. Slides over to Eve and says, Ochoa, and says, is that what happened? She said, the serpent. She was like, and because it's not in my message, I want to move off of this, but I want you to see the point. Give my sword. Right. But when it's over, they still alive. But the lamb is dead. Did you catch it? The judgment should have fell on them. But it fell on the lamb. Yes. So what's the message? What's the gospel? The first message preached in Scripture was preached by Yah himself when he makes a promise that the seed of the woman will crush the head of the serpent. And he would bruise his heel. It's the first message, first gospel was, I'm going to handle the devil. Now, that's good news for us. Right? But bad news for the lamb. Because he's going to have to die. And bad news for the devil and everybody following the devil. It's the message from the king. I'm going to run through the rest of these quickly. The next time we hear the gospel, we hear the gospel in Genesis chapter 5, when man hath corrupted himself on the whole earth. And Yah was like, I got to do something about this. Matter of fact, I may just kill everything and start over. But then Noah found grace in the eyes of Yah. Watch this. Watch this. And the message that came down from heaven or from the throne room of Yah was this: I'm going to destroy all flesh. So where is the news? The news is in the instructions. But you, man, build this ark and get in it with you and your family. So the good news is, hey, there's an ark that you can get in. The bad news is everybody that don't get in is going to die. But there's some more interesting news. If you don't build this ark right, you dead too.
Come on now.
Or if you don't build the ark and talk about I'm saved by grace, you dead too. So the message is good or bad depending on what side of the message you're on. Because when the message came from Yah that said, which was the gospel, yet 7 days and this world will be destroyed by a flood, that was the opportunity for everybody on the planet that wanted to get on the boat. But they mocked, lied.
Yeah.
Man, please, watch my man Noah got on that boat with his wife and his 3 sons and their wives and them animals and all that. Why? Because he heard the tidings, or he heard the message of the king, and he responded accordingly, not contrary.
That's right.
And you know what happened? Flood came. Abraham had a gospel. He had a message from the king. And the message was, depart from your land and from your kindred, because from your seed, all of the world is going to be blessed. That was his message. So somebody said, well, where's the bad side of that? Did you read Abraham's life? You see what he went through? But because he ultimately obeyed Yah, it was counted to him for righteousness. The message eventually was, now take Isaac, your only son, to a hill. Y'all read that before? Is it just me? And sacrifice him. Like, that's the message for today. Now go on. Ooh, I know he had a time convincing Mama Sarah. Some people say he snatched little, well, Isaac wasn't little, but that he actually took Isaac with Sarah not knowing. That's, some people believe that he just was like, don't you tell your mama. Don't you tell your mama. When he got to the mountaintop, he told the servants, y'all stay right here, me and the lad. Now watch what he said. He could not, as the father, he could not bring himself to actually vocalize that he was going to sacrifice his son. You know what he actually said to his servants? He said, the lad and I are going to worship. Worship always includes a sacrifice. So when they get to the top of the house, or on top of the hill, Isaac asked the question, so what's going on? I mean, we've been doing this a long time. You got the wood and the knife and the fire, but I don't see the lamb. And watch this. Want to hear the gospel? Want to hear the message? Yah will provide for himself a lamb. That's good news, right? But Isaac is like, oh, wow. You trying to say you about to off me, huh, Pops? But if this is what it takes, watch this. For there to be proof of the resurrection, because Dad, I heard you tell the men, me and the lad are going to worship and we will return. That out of that whole statement, when I heard that we will return, unless you lying, I'm getting up here. And when he got on the altar, he was willing to die. Abraham was willing to kill him. But then you hear the gospel. Hey, Abraham. Woo, Abraham. Woo. Just wanted to make sure you hadn't made a little idol out of your son. I wanted to make sure that there was nothing in your life between me and you that you wasn't willing to give up. Untie your boy.
Yes.
And look over, because I'm going to provide for myself a lamb. That was the gospel. It was real good news to Isaac. Well, then my mind is racing now. I got to stop that. Man, I can see him pulling the ropes. Pops, I like your faith, man, but I like that message from heaven. Let me give y'all 3 more and get out of here. Watch this. I ain't gonna go that long. Watch this. Watch this. Did y'all read about what Moses said in Deuteronomy 18:18? Come on, get that for me real quick. Somebody. Let's go to Deuteronomy 18:18. Let's see if there's some gospel in the Old Testament. Deuteronomy 18:18. Somebody in the house got it?
I will raise them up a prophet from among their brethren, like unto thee, and will put my words in his mouth, and he shall speak unto them all that I shall command him.
Keep going.
And it shall come to pass that whosoever will not hearken unto my words, which he shall speak in my name, I will require it of him.
That means I'm going to kill him. Do you hear the message from the king now? Do you hear the message from heaven? I'm going to send a prophet from among your brethren, like you. But I'll tell you what, if they don't hear him, they die. See, right now they don't hear you. I'm trying to make them, but they stiff-necked. They may get by not hearing you, but they're not going to get by not hearing him. That's the gospel. Not they can do whatever they want when that prophet comes. That's not the gospel. The gospel is not, well, when that prophet comes, won't be no more Torah, won't be no more Old Testament. Y'all can eat all the shrimp you want. Y'all can eat all the pigs you want. on. When that prophet comes, you can have Easter egg hugs and bow down your knee to Ashtaroth and Baal. When that prophet comes, you can change the day of worship. When that prophet comes, you can do all of the things you've been ever wanted to do, because that ain't the gospel. The gospel is when that prophet comes, if you don't obey everything he tells you to do, it's going to be required of you. When? At the judgment. All right. You don't believe me. Verse 20. Come on. Yeah, Elijah, read it loud.
But the prophet, which shall presume to speak a word in my name, which I have not commanded him to speak, or that shall speak in the name of other gods, even that prophet shall die.
Oh, wait a minute. So he said, I got a prophet coming. Y'all better listen to him or you're going to die. But if anybody else comes up, really with a different message, he's going to die. See, I'm looking at y'all like, whoa, this message is kind of a downer, man. I thought you was going to talk about the good news. The good news is that the king is talking to you at all.
Hallelujah.
The good news is that the king is trying to tell you what he's going to do before he does it. The good news is that the king is giving you space to repent.
Amen to that. Hallelujah.
David had his own gospel. Psalm 110. His gospel was, Yahoshua, or the master, said to my master, sit here till I make your enemies your footstool. Even Yahoshua used that passage to argue with the Pharisees and scribes when they tried to jam him up on him being the very sent one from Yah. In other words, he was like, this is my message, it ain't changed. Who was David talking about? It's going to destroy the enemy. See, the good news is only if you're on the right side. I'm going to give you another one. Isaiah 53. Let's hit that one real quick. Oh, no, I got to do this one. Got to do this one, y'all. Let's go to Job real quick. Let's hit that Job. Let's just run by Job real quick. Let's see the gospel he got. Job chapter 19. Let me see. Did I write down the right? Yeah. Ooh, did I? Ooh, my goodness gracious. I'm about to shout now. Verse 21 says, have pity upon me. Have pity upon me. O ye friends, O ye my friends. For the hand of Yah has touched me. Why do you persecute me as Yah? And are not satisfied with my flesh. In other words, man, I'm going through it and I don't understand it. Y'all making it worse. Watch this. Oh, that my words were now written. Oh, they was, Joe. We're reading them right now. By the way, his name was Joanne. Oh, that they were printed in a book. It's in the book. That they were graven with an iron pen. And what's that? In the how long? What is his message? Come on. Verse 25.
For I know.
For I what? He said, man, I wish these next words was written in a book, engraved with an iron pen, and etched into a rock forever. What is the message? I know that my, come on, liveth, and that
He shall stand
in the latter day where?
upon the earth.
Oh, so his Redeemer was actually going to come to earth. Is that New Testament or Old Testament that the Redeemer was coming to earth? Watch it now. And, come on, though after my, verse 26, do what?
Destroy the body.
Oh, so in his gospel, He didn't say, I ain't gonna never die. Like some of these religions teach that. You ain't gonna die. He said, no, that ain't the point, man. After the skin worms destroy my body, yet in my flesh shall I see Elohim, whom I shall see. Watch this. What?
For myself.
For myself, and mine eyes shall behold, and
Not another.
and not another. Though my, now watch that, though my what? Be consumed within me. In other words, what he was saying is, the gospel is, my Redeemer lives. And even though I'm suffering, if I never get out of the suffering, it don't matter. As long as he lives, he will redeem me when the time comes for redemption. I'm not turning my back on him. That's not the gospel that you hear today. The gospel we hear today is, if you have faith, ain't nothing bad gonna happen to you. It's not true. The gospel message, Isaiah 53 is another one. Isaiah had the gospel. Isaiah 53 is interesting because he was pleading to Israel. He was like, who has believed our report? He was like, man, I've been telling people about the judgment. I'm telling people that Israel, by sinning, is going to be in trouble and nobody wants to hear me. I've been talking about the Redeemer. I've been talking about changing your life and keeping Torah. And what's interesting is folk don't want to believe the report. But he said, I'm not going to change the report. He's going to grow up before him as a tender plant. Just like Yeshua, a root out of dry ground. That was the time of Yisrael. For here, I know y'all know the passage. But watch this. Verse 3. He was, come on,
Despised.
and
Rejected of men.
a man of
Sorrows.
acquainted with.
Grief.
That's the gospel. So when the Messiah preached the gospel to the people, when he brought the tidings from Yah, every time he told the message, he also was talking about his own death. It was good news for you if you follow him. It's bad news for him if he has to die for you. We celebrate the Passover. Everybody's happy, but that lamb. Lamb is like, is Passover here already? Man, I'm just now getting over last year. My buddy was taken. Watch this. And he got taken and he was perfect.
Hallelujah. Come on now.
Don't lose me, y'all. I got a conclusion to this message. Please, please hear it. Whew. When you read the New Testament, the Christian writers and commentaries and online bloggers and all that, all are in cahoots. And they will all say the same thing. We don't know exactly what the kingdom, what the gospel of the kingdom means. They all say the same thing. You can do it right now. You can Google, what is the meaning of the gospel of the kingdom? And they'll say it's a vague term. It's a term we don't really understand. It's a term we don't really know. It's a term that is used to represent the fact that it's the good news that God sent Jesus to save the world. And,
Commentary.
so I understand why you're doing that now. Because the message from the kingdom, watch this, is the declaration from the king. And what the king is declaring to the world is, submit to me or be killed. You either follow me to the Father's house or you go to hell with the devil and his angels and the false prophets. The gospel is either you line up with Torah on the right side or reject that, go the broad way, you end up destroyed. This is what he preached when he went all over Galilee. The message of the gospel, Zion, is judgment. Maybe I better say that again. Once the king got here and ruled and taught the rule of the kingdom, there's nothing left but the judgment. The next step for all of us is to stand before the king. You think you finna just take wings and fly away? Ooh, before it get bad, before my life get too tough, you're gonna give me wings like you done drank some Red Bull. No, what the king came to say is the kingdom of heaven is at hand. The gospel or the message of the kingdom is this: if you've been waiting for me to follow me, I'm here.
Hallelujah.
The good news is I'm here. But if you reject me and don't follow me, the message is you die.
No democracy.
All right, let me get through with this. They keep acting like they don't know what the message is. Yeah, the reason why they always want to act like they don't know what the kingdom message is because they know there's no other way to explain the kingdom unless they use Torah. But because the Christian church has already said the law's been done away with, we can't use Torah, then they can't use, watch this, the message of the kingdom, because the message of the kingdom comes down from our king. It's written to us in the Torah. If the message of the kingdom is follow the king, then we gotta then what? Follow the Bible, the Torah. Yeah. But when your whole premise is you don't have to do that, then you can't understand the kingdom of heaven. What does he mean by the kingdom of heaven? Oh, because you are set on the kingdom of man. Y'all sitting in high seats, you don't want to get off. King gonna kick you off. You sitting there ruling nations and things like that, and some of y'all, you know, man, listen, when the king get here, every knee gonna bow down to him. Three things very evident. I'm said this, I'm saying it again. Torah. That means he taught. Bashara. It means he preached the message of the kingdom. Rapha means he healed. Not some, all manner of sickness, all manner of diseases among the people. That particular word there for heal, Rapha, has to do with resh, a head, pay, obviously a mouth. So it means it means man open, if you please. So a man has two, when it comes to a person, there's two parts of him that's vital when it comes to being sick or hurt. One is outside and one is inside. So when you are hurt from the outside, like a cut or bruise, and you're bleeding, right? You take ointment or salve or whatever, and then you apply it to the open wound, and then you wrap it to heal it. When a person is damaged on the inside, you then got to open the man and go inside and then handle the healing process. The problem that we have today, we got a whole lot of people wanting to heal the outside of a man. But they don't know that our people are not only damaged on the outside, the physical, but on the inside we're messed up. So we need a healer. Watch this. The word Rapha is a very interesting word because it sets him apart from everybody else. Most doctors or physicians are what's called specialists. Either they work on the outside or the inside, but very few of them do both. And even then, they'll only take certain cases because some cases they're going to ship you off to a specialist. They're going to look at that case and go, you know what? This right here requires somebody better than me to handle. But when the Messiah came, fulfilling Psalm, let's get to that. Psalm 107 verse 20, it says he sent his word. Let me pull it up so I don't misquote it. Psalm 107 verse 20 says he sent his word. Come on. And what? And healed them. Come on. And
delivered them from their destruction.
And you do know that Yeshua himself confessed, I didn't come here on my own, I was sent. And we know, according to John chapter 1, he's the word made flesh. So when the psalm writer talked about Yah sending his word to heal, he was talking about sending the Messiah. And he would come. And he fulfilled all three types. All three. Number one, he taught in the synagogue, Torah. Number two, he preached, which is he brought the message or the tiding of the kingdom. Depending on what side of the kingdom you are, that could be good or bad.
Hallelujah.
You know Donald Trump is in office. Do you know that?
I heard it.
Do you know for some people, that's the greatest news on the planet? When he said we're going to make America great again, woo, some people heard that message and was like, that's good news. And they hit the streets. And they're still supporting him with all their heart. Another group heard the same message from the same man and was like, oh boy, I heard this before. Man, when they get talking about the good old days, for our group of people, them some bad old days. How far back he talking about make America great again? When was it? When do you feel like it was?
Great.
When we were saying yes, sir, no, sir, putting your eyes down and couldn't look up. No, see how one message, two complete different reactions. I got a message I'm working on about the Donald Trump type. I'm going to show you guys something about leadership. He's drew the line. You either for me, or you against me. Now, he makes one statement, but two sides. Now, I ain't with his statements. That's not my point. But you're living in a day where you can see that with your own eyes, is all I'm saying. You can see it. What makes you think if he can make a statement and it divide a country, that the king of Israel, when he got here, his statements didn't divide the country? So much so that ultimately what ended up happening to him is his message that everybody says is such good news caused his death.
Yes. Come on, Dave. Yeah.
And then, true story, I'm going to show it to you. Then after he died and then rose again, he called his boys together and said, just like y'all sent me, I'm sending you. Same message.
Hallelujah.
Same Hebrew.
Hallelujah.
And the same results.
Hallelujah.
If they did it to me,
Gonna do it to you.
they're going to do it to you. They're going to persecute you from city to city. Those that kill you are going to think they've been doing you a favor. They're going to put your name in the street. You're going to become a laughing stock. He goes on and says, but he says this, but they that endure to the end.
That's right.
All right. The fact that I'm with you, that is good news. The fact that they're going to beat me to death, I'm into the casket drop. Y'all know that. Rich, poor. Friends, no friends. A group, no group. A fellowship, no fellowship. It's resolved already. I practice dying. I told y'all that. It's the truth. I practice the day that they come to get me. Oh yeah, for sure. And I ain't going out like no sucker. Forget that. I'm going out cussing. I'm going out shooting till the barrel melt. And I'm going out hollering the name of Yah and giving him all praises, that I be counted worthy to suffer shame for his name. Counted worthy to just have a couple of stripes on me, so when I get on the other side, I won't be looking like when I was in high school. I used to play football, you know, and we used to have guys who never got in the game. So at the end of the game, you know, our helmets be all scarred up and torn, and our jerseys be ripped and grass stains all over. We didn't have no turf. I grew up in the country. We didn't have no artificial turf. Played on grass. Be all dirty, you know. And I never shall forget, after one game, I saw one of my fellow teammates take his helmet off, because he didn't get a chance to play, right? But he took his helmet off, and he started beating it up against the blue locker that was inside the... And I was like, well, what is he doing? Oh, man, it's like, that way it won't look like I've been sitting on the bench. That's what some of y'all trying to do. Ride the bench and then fake some stripes. That ain't how we do it. The gospel is, if you're in this, be ready for your stripes. But it'll be kind of embarrassing if you get up there and you ain't got no stripes, no marks on your jersey at all. Everybody else up there gonna be like, I mean, I'm glad you're in and everything, dog, but I mean, I don't know how he got here, but all of us, man. Revelation. I kept y'all way too long. We gotta know that John chapter 20, verse 21 tells us that we have to have the same mind of Christ. Acts chapter 1, verse 11 says that our king, the same king that went up, is coming back down. When I say Christ, I mean Messiah. And of course, our message can't change. And that's my last point. Revelation chapter 14, verse 6. The book of the Revelation, chapter 14, verse 6. And I saw another angel fly in the midst of the Shamayim, having the, come on. No, the temporary gospel. Everlasting. No, the gospel that started in the New Testament. Everlasting. What gospel was he preaching? The everlasting. Why? Because the word there is literally without time. It was the same gospel in the beginning of time. It was the gospel during this time, and it will be the gospel tomorrow. It's the everlasting gospel. It don't need your help. It doesn't need your support. It doesn't need your input. It doesn't need your, well, I feel, and well, you feel. It doesn't need none of that. It's everlasting, which means the gospel message is perfect. You don't change it. And if it's not, watch this, if Yeshua didn't change it on earth, then it's evident that the angels have not changed it in the Shamayim. Because when he preached it, he was preaching the same thing. And that's all I want to do, Zion. In this little time I got, born in 66, that's what they'll put on it. 1966. But watch this. Then there'll be a dash. And then there'll be another number. I have no clue when that other number going to be. But I do know this one thing, Zion. In that little space called the dash, I don't want to be guilty of adding stuff to the gospel that he said in the book is everlasting. I don't want to be guilty of taking nothing away. So, well, what did he preach? Well, one thing about him, man, if it wasn't in there, he didn't preach it. It was the same message. I like what the old folks say. You can give me that old time religion. It was good for the Hebrew children. That's Old Testament. Another verse said, it was good for Paul and Silas. See, the old folk knew something y'all don't know. That the old time was the same message, it never changed. And his fame went everywhere. I was going to leave you on that point. Can y'all give me 5 minutes? You've been here all day anyway. Let me leave you on this one point. Look, last point. Look, watch this. Let me just give you this because a lot of people, this is flyover country. But there's meaning in all verses. Most people fly over this. Did you look at those cities that he mentioned? One of those cities is called Decapolis. Decapolis means 10. And so this was a city made up of 10 groups or 10 cities or 10 province. It was Roman. And the Romans and Greek had set up their province there, and all of the Hebrew and native speaking, the Shemitic people that were still living there, had basically been totally consumed by the ways of the Roman. Just like people today are totally consumed by the Western mentality and have changed from their Hebrew culture to this Greco-Roman culture we live in. But watch this. But when they heard about the king, they was willing to make the change. There's another place in there called Beyond the Jordan. It was the exact place where John the Baptist was baptized. It's interesting. Because that particular place was called, I want to get it right, Bethabara. It literally means a house, Beth, a bara, a ford, or a stream, or a narrow or shallow path across water. So what they were on the other side of Jordan, it would be like saying this: even the people that was born on the wrong side of the tracks. It's like,
come on now.
I don't get to, you do know we're on the wrong side of the river, right? And it was like, did you hear what he's doing though? He's preaching Torah. He's delivering the message of the king, and it's free health care. All we got to do is walk through some water. We can handle that. See, some of us worldwide, we got hurdles, pitfalls, traps, rivers. It doesn't matter. Whatever it takes to get close to him, whatever it takes to sit at his feet, whatever it takes to hear the message that he had, not somebody dressed up in purple plaid, not somebody wearing big hexagrams, not somebody around here calling out women bees and hoes. No. Our King, whatever it takes to sit at his feet and hear his message, then make our lives conform to that. Get to that.
Hallelujah.
Cross the Jordan. Where you going? Going over there to I guess you finna just follow the Messiah, huh? Yeah.
Amen to
You're gonna
that.
follow him all the way, baby.
Amen to that.
All right, you're gonna end up dying. He died.
Amen to that too.
And if he poured precious blood, I can pour this old rotten blood out. He'll raise it up. Back heads bowed and eyes closed. The gospel of the kingdom is the message of the king to his subjects. And if you are a subject willing to abide by the message from the king, it is good news. But if you've made up your mind you're not following the king, that's the worst news you could have ever heard. The question is, what side are you on? Abaya, keep us on the winning side. And help us to walk according to the everlasting gospel. Hallelujah. Amen.
Hallelujah.